Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Round 5. And with 4 wins out of 4 for DPR, it now turns to this incredible Australian circuit. One which every driver here knows so well. It's a high-speed thrill ride. It is one of the most unique circuits in the world. It is Cows Victoria. It is Phillip Island. And it is going to be all about how 150 kilometers will change going into the second third of the season. If anybody's form needs to change, it's now, and it's here with your DSL Welding Services V8 SuperCup and Season 3 worth of action. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name's Jake Sperry, Jason Fewins alongside me for the ride today. Jay Kennedy on cameras for this one. Jason, Phillip Island doesn't really need an introduction. When you say it in terms of Australian sim racing and Australian motorsport, you understand what you're in for. You're in for a fast and high-speed circuit over on the Australian coast. And it is one which really you look at and go, there isn't really too much like it in terms of bringing down a difficult challenge without necessarily that need to slow down the top speeds. It's a throwback of a circuit.
Yeah, it really is an old school circuit here in Australia. It's very well established with a lot of history here dating back to the mid-1950s. So a very fast flowing circuit. It is going to be critical tonight to try and stay in a draft. As you can see on the screen in front of you at the moment now, there is 12 tricky curves, and quite a few of those are off camber, so you find yourself out of the racing line and you're out on the slippery grass, and it's a long road back onto the tarmac. So tonight we are here around this 4.4 kilometre layout. There is going to be action aplenty, and as always, Phillip Island delivers great racing no matter whether you're on 2 wheels or 4.
And 2 wheels or 4, you look at this circuit and it doesn't look like much on paper, but the amount of elevation change that goes through some of these corners, especially turn 9, Lukey Heights, up and over the top of the hill and descending down into the incredibly difficult MG corner to hit the brakes. This truly is an incredible 4.4 kilometre or 2.7 mile anti-clockwise circuit here around today. Let's talk championship though as we go through. Andrew Dyson is absolutely flying up at the top of the championship. He has finished no worse than second position all season long, or I would say his worst finish was last week, which was just beyond second, but 149 points to the 116 of Sebastian Varndale. He continues to stretch out his margin up at the top of the series. It is Michael Taliancic, the veteran, who is there in third, with Blake Delaney fourth and Tim Mulford rounding out the top 5. Michael Whiting and Thomas Freeman are 6th and 7th. 2 wins this season for Dylan O'Shea. Comes off of just 2 starts. He still manages to tie for 8th place, along with Blake Warboys, who is another incredibly quick driver in 8th place. And then you got the tie for 10th with Brody Sentence and Teo Sorono, who is battling in that 10th position after what has been a very tough start to his season, Jason.
Yeah, some very well-established V8 driver names amongst that field as we also look at the Sports Championship here as well. We've got Christopher Tomlin leading that one there, not by the margin we'd see in the Pro Series, but he's got the lead nonetheless. Will Jesberg tied with Ty Delaney there for second, so very tight there, fighting over the second and third spot on the podium with Jack Anderson, very keen to establish his dominance as well. Luke Crum, John Fillingham there as well, Martin Hallian, Kobe Jordan, Matthew Shanahan and Shane Newens. So some great talent there, which we'll keep an eye on tonight because there is still plenty to fight for within the Sports Championship as well.
There's a lot to fight for, and this is what they are fighting with. It's 60 minutes of practice. We are in 30 minutes worth of qualifying at this point, and we'll be heading to race conditions afterwards. It's a 34-lap race with themselves all restricted. They have themselves 3 tyre sets available to them and 66.6 litres of fuel allotted to them in the tank, meaning that if there are safety cars here today, it's not going to be as simple as you bring it down in every time you get a new fresh set of tyres and go out again. You're going to have to work with the sets that you've got available out there overall. But as we take a look at just how ferocious the run into Doohan Corner is, turn number 1, and the brand new name, Jack Miller Corner of turn number 4, a lot of MotoGP influence around this Phillip Island circuit, you do get an understanding of what makes this circuit difficult. It is fast, and it is going to be one of these quick tracks, Jason, where you look around and go, okay, well, I need a buffer margin here today. And you're going to need a little bit of help from the drivers around you to start racing amongst themselves. Give yourself that gap to start really racing hard around this place.
Yeah, mid-quarter speed to get a good run onto some of these straights is really, really important. And it'll be smart driving tonight, which we'll see a lot of the drivers at the front of the field at the end of the night. And if you get yourself caught up into a little battle pack, you can very easily drop a number of positions just by running a little bit wide or finding yourself out of position.
And we focus on the number 63 of Blake Warboys, who is second. Oh, big squirrely moment up the top of Lukey, trying to get it turned. And that's how far it takes you when you're off in the grass trying to stop it. And into the tyres goes Blake Warboys just like that. His qualifying lap abandoned then, as he is second fastest and 2/10 off the pace. Michael Whiting then, Fishy Motorsport, on board through the Southern Loop corner, turn 2. This is the sort of corner here, Jason, that goes on for forever and a day. You're always trying to diamond off, trying to get back to the apex as quickly as possible to ratchet the power on.
Yeah, the tyre quality is going to be very important to try and keep a tight line through there. So it's going to be a very strategic race, whether you burn up your tyres early in the race. Like you mentioned earlier, there is limited tyres available to these drivers, so they are going to have to play it smart and think about the long game, because you can very quickly find yourself out of action and out of tyres. So it could make for a long race if you burn them up too early.
Certainly can, and with it just being 34 laps, it's not going to sound like much, but it is still going to be tough on the tyres, especially when you put high load through a number of sections of circuit. Another one here up at Lukey. This is where you're going to start really noticing where the right side tyres are really important around the lap, and it's even more so when you consider that to get the power on through turns 11 and 12, this is where you need those right-hand side tyres. There's a lot that goes into this track in terms of how you build it up. Whiting's going to dive back into the pits, get a brand new fresh set of tyres. For the 3 sets that you have during the race, you do have unlimited sets here for qualifying. So you've certainly got that work that's in there, and you're looking at it going, well, okay, I've only got so much. Here's Brandon Grosh. He's out there right now. He's giving himself a good run here in the number 22, 28th position at the moment on a 1:30.2, which is about nearly 2.5 seconds off the fastest time set overall by Andrew Gilliam at this point. The juice car getting a big snap going through the transition between 11 and 12.
Yeah, so the actual lap record around this circuit is held by Scott McLaughlin in the Mustang GT at a minute 30.9. So the drivers out here are well and truly exceeding, and that track conditions are obviously set to suit these vehicles down to a T. Even though they are moving around quite a bit under brakes, they do tend to grip up quite well. So we should see a really, really fast-paced action from the moment the lights go green tonight. So we'll keep an eye on those lap times, and consistency, I think, is probably going to be very, very important to make sure you're there to see the checkered flag drop.
Andrew Dyson then pottering around through Siberia corner and under the 420 sign and heading towards the hay shed. This for Andrew Dyson is important. He's got himself an established championship lead. He's almost got himself a full race buffer out there in front. But what he's trying to do right now is set up that opening lap, and he's trying to allow anyone who wants to go through. But you can see the two vehicles behind who are sat there. It's Teo Sorono and Shane Nowens, and both those drivers know if there's any place you want to be in an open qualifying session like this, you want to be behind the championship leader because you get the best run out there. Sorono in the Pursuit Sim Racing 155, he is going to absolutely try and gun it going forward, and he's actually going to go by. And I think this is interesting here from Andrew Dyson. He's trying to work up his tyres into a heat cycle.
Yeah, well, he's got just under 5 minutes to set that flying lap, so he has to find himself a bit of track position at the moment where he's not going to find himself hindered. Teo bails out of that and goes hard left across the circuit. He's going to come back across the racing line and find himself out in the kitty litter, so he's decided to bail out of that. Shane Newens, on the other hand, continues with his. He's one of our sports drivers tonight who's sitting inside the top 10 of that little championship. So flying through what was now Stoner Corner into Miller hairpin, very, very tight switchback on the right-hand turn down, and it's important you get a good drive out of here down to Siberia. So this is the furthest part from the pits before they start heading back towards the start-finish line. A tight left-hander, and we make our way through a fast-flowing section leading up to the hay shed.
Absolutely. Nowens then really trying to get as much out of the track as possible, and you have to dance over to the right to open up the left. He batters the inside curb as he comes up and over the hill then, and that's when you get that negative G as you drop down the hill into MG corner, taking the middle of the road, trying to open up as much as possible left at turn 11 and leading towards that final corner at 12. Nowens, and his best time so far is a 58.0, so he hasn't set anything representative in number 73. He is 38th of 38 out there overall, and as he crosses the line, it's a 130.5, so that's only enough to move up to 33rd position. One of the weird things about this circuit is that it can look particularly good in terms of a lap, and you find yourself 2.5, 3 seconds off the pace. It doesn't take much to actually fall behind as Warboys crosses the line, 44.5. He's going to gear up for a flyer here with 3 minutes to go. Everyone's struggling to beat Andrew Gilliam in time. We put 777, Michael Talianchis on board, Jason, because 4 races are being beaten about by the DPR squad. I think Andrew Gilliam is the secret weapon in the Michael Talianchis arsenal. He said, I've had enough, let's get the big guns in.
Yeah, well, Talianchis is driving at the moment with one arm, so he's been out of action for a couple of weeks now. Of course, he took a win home last night in another series, so he has a great setup at the moment. It's definitely working for him. He's got a rhythm going, so he'll be definitely one to mix it amongst the pigeons tonight. He's moved up in the championship from last week as well, so he's on a little bit of form. So if there's anyone who's going to set things to fire tonight, he's my dark horse.
Well, he's down in 10th place at the moment. Warboys really trying to make sure that Mustang can gallop at this stage. It's looking like a strong lap here from Blake Warboys down the hill at MG. He's just got to get everything together. Trail brake through the corner and get some drive out of the exits. You're battling the understeer, and then when you put the power down more, you battle the oversteer. It's so difficult to pilot one of these Ford Mustangs around, and getting right out to the curb through the exit is going to duck down low because the lap time wasn't as good as what was needed and is not going to have necessarily enough time. Rick Kuznetsov has done really well in a 9.5 car. The 888 is 4th fastest at the moment and does go even quicker, but can't find position. A 28.087 there, Jason, but still a couple hundred short of the championship leader, who's 3rd fastest.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time separating 2nd through to 5th, but just under 0.3 of a second. But obviously Rick, they're not finding enough to position himself up any higher than 2nd row on the grid at the moment. We are just over a minute left of the qualifying session, so really anyone out on track needs to be on their warm-up lap ready for their flyer if they're going to make anything count. So we are on board with Talianchis now making his way down through Southern Loop. This is the forever left-hand turn that comes back on itself. Got the Pacific Ocean out to your right-hand side, the South Chill, which often in real life is quite windy, and of course we don't see that here within the sim, but it can make this Stoner corner pretty tricky. You get a push up here into what is now Miller Hairpin, very late on the brakes, second gear corner, right a little bit of curb, and make sure easy throttle application on the way out. So Taliancic's getting a little bit of a tow at the moment. That just might be enough to see him climb up the standings, like you said earlier, sitting 10th at the moment, sitting back on the 5th row, so he will have some work to do, but he's a smart driver. He knows what he has to do to be there at the end.
Well, one arm or at this point, he's got himself every chance. He knows that he's got to be on this lap with Andrew Gilliam giving him everything that he's got. At this point, they head down into MG, checkered flag about to drop, which means that the last driver over the line is going to be able to set one more time, and that's Brandon Grosh, who was the last driver over the line. So Michael Taliancic, don't expect Andrew Gilliam to improve on this lap. He's there solely to help the 777, who's in championship contention today, move up the order, and Taliancic comes to the line, sets a 28.492, could only get one position on Thomas Hins. So for Taliancic, that'll be a little bit disappointing that he wasn't able to get what he wanted. Jai Schultz out there on a lap. Harry Dodds as well in 20th on a lap as well. Schultz coming out of MG, then will move through turn number 11. Harry Dodds did not improve on his lap time, but we believe Jai Schultz potentially can here at this point in time. Number 27, 22nd position, only needs a couple tenths, and that's enough to move up about 5 spots from where he is right now. And Schultz, driving for the line, sets a 29.7, so it's half a second off the pace from that initial lap time. And we talk sometimes about tracks curating. Jack Mickelson is going to dive into the pit, so that's qualifying done. And let's jump ourselves then to the grid and see how everybody stacks up at Phillip Island, the 5th round of the championship here. And it's Andrew Gilliam, number 201, who has got the pole position, a 127.794. We'll have alongside Blake Warboys for company, who is there just 0.2 of a second back. Andrew Dyson and Rick Kuznetsov will be on row 2 of the grid, with Michael Whiting starting 5th and Thomas Freeman in the number 1 going in 6th position. Dylan O'Shea didn't have all the time available in his session set of time. He'll have to go from 7th, with Teo Sorono in 8th place. Michael Taliancic starts from 9th. Thomas Hins will round out then the top 10. Over the page, it's Jamie Dyke and Seb Varndell. They're struggling in qualifying, second in the championship. Seb Varndell will have to go from 12th, with Blake Delaney and Connor Nixon then on row 7 of the grid. Riley Simmons is leader in category 4 sport. He will go from 15th, with David Coleman 16th, ahead of Matt Stewart and Luke Swan, who are 17th and 18th positions. Tim Mulford will go from 19th, with Harry Dodds rounding out the top 20. Jack Mickelson and Jai Schultz are 11th and on row 11, sorry, in 21st and 22nd, with Andy Barber and Matt Whitaker on row number 12. Martin Hallinan then will go from 25th, with Aidan Ford in 26th, Brandon Grosh and Luke Crum housing the 14th row, with Jake Jackson and Seth Brown finding themselves on row number 15. Over once more, then you got likes of Tom Pritchard and Will Jesberg, Shane Nowens, Jack Anderson, all there. Chris Tomlin, the championship leader, is going to have a bit of work to do. So too John Fillingham, with the last drivers to set times, Ty Delaney and Wade Sheedy having to go from the back in 38th position. So they've got that they've all got to balance around and work with over the course of their race. And it's going to be a long, long race at that at 34 laps. It will go by quicker than they think, but as they all gear themselves up and get themselves as much as they possibly can, they are now going to be ready. That run to turn number 1 is going to be so, so crucial. And they know that any start that they make, they're going to be looking around at everybody else going, well, who's going to get the best launch up the hill? Those about, I would say, 7 or 8 rows back have a bit of an advantage. They're in the dip in the middle, so they get that opportunity to rocket off and launch. And if they do have that ability to do that, they might be able to gain a couple places on those who start on an uphill run. But with most, if not all, of the drivers getting themselves ready on the grid, we're going to get ourselves then into a lights procedure. And once we get ourselves through that procedure, we're going to be getting ourselves through and ready for racing. This, of course, your DSL Welding Services V8 SuperCup. This, of course, Phillip Island, and this is a small treasure that a lot of the drivers want to try and find a victory on. It is going to be important because looking at it, there's going to be no leader off the start. Andrew Gillian is going to start this one from the pit. So it is going to be Blake Warboys who will lead them off then as they make that run towards turn number 1 then as they dive through. Dyson in second position, happy with the run he's got, flicking through side by side for third. Michael Whiting then trying to hold off Rick Kuznetsov then, who will go back onto the inside as they go through the southern loop then for the first time. It's a very important start to this race. A couple drivers, one's going to go around, and just in front of them there, I'm not quite sure who got caught up in that. David Coleman looked like he really lost time because of it, but aside from that, it's always going to be dangerous and dicey on this opening lap as they hit Miller Corner for the first time.
Yeah, plenty of action happening, lots of elbows out. There's cars 2x2 making their way through the field at the moment. They're going to have to make their way into single file, particularly as they make their way out of Siberia. We see one of the racecraft cars off into the tyres on lap number 1. Looks like Connor Nixon. He's buried deep. I don't think he's stuck in the tyres. He's just got to dig himself out of the sand pile that is Siberia. But meanwhile, the race continues. Top of Lukey Heights down into MG. We saw this get a couple of drivers come unstuck in the qualifying session. Looks like everybody's got their tyres up to temperature and they're making their way through without too much drama. Focusing on Simrig's car number 19 at the moment. Looks like there's a bit of some action in the background as well. Jack Anderson going cross country. Safe re-entry and finds himself back into position.
He does. So the Infinity car's got a bit of work to do at this stage. 1 lap then, score complete for the 34 that they'll go through today, and they'll have Pacific Ocean sky views as they move in towards turn number 1. Running through, Blake Warboys, your race leader, your championship leader, up in second position, and is going to have to absolutely fly today to make things happen overall. They will also have to be a little bit alert to where Andrew Gilliam is later on in this race. He could play a part later on if things fall into line, but on the brakes they go. It's a long train here for this race lead. It goes all the way back to this move down the inside as Jamie Dyke finds out through the form of Thomas Hinds making the pass, and that is someone going straight on. That's the 823 of Matt Whitaker finding himself in a little bit of trouble there, going through at that section of track. And right in front then, he will pop up now of the car who started from the pits, 201, Andrew Gilliam. Over the hill at MG, Andrew Dyson finding himself in second position, and now seeing those drivers behind. He'll want to start making a gap here to Rick Kuznetsov, and he needs Blake Warboy's help in order to manage that. If he can build that margin, gain a little bit of time, that could be the difference maker here today. But the group goes pretty much back to Riley Simmons right now. It's the top 12 that feel like they've got a little bit of margin here into the opening corner once again. And Andrew Dyson's going to have to sit and play that patience game because they do have that one pit stop, which could make all the difference, Jason. Well, it seems like we've lost Jason here for the moment, so we're going to be sitting through and watching some incredible racing nevertheless. But here comes turn number 4 once again, and everyone's just trying to settle into a rhythm, try and find the right point to attack. It's not going to be the easiest day in the world for them to manage that, but every driver that's trying to go through has themselves an opportunity to make those overtakes happen. It's getting busy just behind, though, as searching every which way. There's Tim Mulford trying to get the pass on Luke Swan. Not going to find it. That's going to open up Harry Dodds then, maybe, for an opportunity. If he can find an overtake, that might be a bit of magic that is found up over the hill then, trying to dance through the left. Not gonna happen. On the brakes, covered every stage of the way, and that's what makes MG Corner such a fascinating place to find that overtake. It can be really difficult, but You never quite know. Here comes Dyson then, who is really trying to work through, and everyone working to that outside as they go towards turn one. It's really fascinating to see how close they follow. Dyson really tucked up underneath Blake Warboys, and as such, they are going to have to sit, and they are going to have to wait. They can't just wait and forever, though, because they know there's a long race left to go just yet. Just behind that as well, Rick Kuznetsov there in third, just patiently stalking this group at the front. Michael Whiting in fourth, Dylan O'Shea, Michael Taliancic, Teo Sorono all there, and the two Thomases that are just behind, and it still continues on. This group getting dicey here as Luke Swan finds out. He loses the place to Tim Mulford. Here comes the lunge back up the inside, and a little bit of contact there as the turn in. Luke Swan having to be prized open there by Harry Dodds in the juiced car, which finds itself through a move which is just about made. Simshed car, not much it could do. It just had to watch as Harry Dodds found his way to the inside, Jason.
Yeah, plenty of action, and we are only in lap 4 of 34, so there's still a long way to go. We've got to think about the long game, so a little bit of argy-bargy out there at the moment, but they're getting the job done without too much carnage. Looking a bit further up the field now, and we're making our way to round complete lap number 4. So tyres should well and truly be up to temperature. The drivers are dialed and focused in. This is as good as the racing is going to get. We're tucked in underneath the back of the GT Mustang. Thomas Hinds is using the draft benefit as he makes his way across the line. Currently sitting ninth. He's up one from where he started. Not quite close enough to have a look into turn one, but he's definitely applying some pressure.
Well, just in front, Michael Taliancic has jumped by Dylan O'Shea, which is a big sticking point in this race. One arm or not, he'll make the passes, and we'll take a look at the Virtual Racing School replay to see exactly how this pass came about. Moving through the final corner then, and just trying to get a run. And I wonder here at this stage where there was anything to serve going through, or unless that was just pure pace from the 777 moving across. It was easily left and had there by Dylan O'Shea. You often have that turn of cadence, and I think he's wanting to sit behind the 777 because he'll have the bit between his teeth, knowing he's got to bring that gap back into play. I'm just getting word through that there'll be a drive-through penalty for car number 201, who is making progress. He's up to 21st, and that is Andrew Gilliam. So Andrew Gilliam's race from the pit lane is about to be a little bit more difficult because he has been reprimanded by the stewards for his incident over at turn 8.
Yeah, certainly wouldn't have been part of his game plan, so he's going to have to rethink his strategy, his pit sequence, and he's just made life pretty difficult for himself. So further back up the field, Simbridge's car down the Doohan straight, got the inside run for turn number 1. He's going to hold the position. Warboy's not fighting up too much of a battle there. Again,
I'll come back. He'll try and think about it on the outside here with Blake Warboys, but Andrew Dyson will take control of the race lead as he has done so many times this season. Gets a run on the exit, uses all the curb, and suddenly it's Dyson, Warboys, Kuznetsov, and they've broken these top three have from Michael Whiting. They've got about a 2-second margin now, and it's making all the difference. In the background, that's Thomas Hinds again with the big lunge up the inside. There's a car off. That's the Simshed car then that's been in trouble at turn 2 at loop. So that might be not good in terms of them. So a very, very tough issue for them. Thomas Hinds through now on Thomas Freeman, proving that he is top Tom.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of cloud cover as well, so the track temperature just might cool off a fraction, help those tyre conditions, because they're well and truly halfway through their potential life at the moment. Doing a race here last night, I kind of got 14, 16 laps before I started feeling some real deprivation out of the tyres. So those 3 tyres in the hand are going to be pretty crucial tonight, and it's just a matter of when the drivers are going to dive in and take advantage of some new rubber.
That does not look brilliant from Seth Brown's machinery. It looks very, very beaten and broken. Just to add insult to injury there for car number 51. That's going to be a penalty, and that then is more troubles out there. It's Jake Jackson, the 1-9 car there, who was in trouble. So that then very easily finding itself in a little bit of a scary situation, and that's why coming back onto circuit and getting a tap around there. So what happened there to have Jack Mickelson in the Infinity Racing 26 so far off the road, dropped it off the road on his own, it looked like, trying to get it gathered. And when you're coming back down the hill in the grass, you actually had someone join in sympathy there in the background. You're hoping that you've got that all gathered, but you don't expect it out of left field.
No, I think Jack was trying his best just to do a re-entry nice and safe, which he initially did, but then, of course, found himself on a collision course with Jack Jackson there. I think it was the 1-9 car who'd already had a failure in that lap, so might be a time for a pit stop, reset, and fresh tyres for Jack, but further up the field, the battle for the top 3 is still on like Donkey Kong at the moment. Taliancic there is sitting in P5 at the moment, smack bang in a bit of a sandwich, finding it hard to go anywhere, but using the slipstream at the moment to potentially save a little bit of fuel, but up 4 positions from when the lights first went green.
Yeah, stuck behind Michael Whiting here, and Whiting's trying to do everything. Now, we do have a car that is in the pits. That's Seth Brown, who's been in there over a minute, so this looks like retirement central for him at this point. But going through now, just behind, you've got Teo Sorono, who's trying to hold off Thomas Freeman and Jamie Dyke. So Sorono's made the move on Freeman, and we've got all the passes trying to be geared up here in towards the opening section of road, as now trying to pilot towards turn 2. Riley Simmons, who's having an absolute race at this point with the ABC Transport car. He's got Matt Stewart just in front, and I tell you what, he is proving that he has got a turn about him today. 13th position at this point. Behind that, Tim Mulford still trying to have a look through against Luke Swan, and they've got company now. Jai Schultz, David Coleman, they're all there as they hit the brakes and hit Miller Corner.
Yeah, single file, nobody's stepping out of line here at the moment. It's a very, very brave customer who's going to stick his nose down the inside at Miller Hairpin there, but everybody single file, just waiting for the driver in front to make a mistake. We are in lap 8 of 34, so we're a quarter of the way through. Drivers now need to start thinking about probably making a little bit of progress if they get an opportunity, because the laps, it doesn't sound like it's a long race, 34 laps, but they will count down rather quickly.
Tim Mulford, oh, big snap of oversteer as he now descends down the hill, trying to get it gathered back up together and trying to open up a move, if possible, on Luke Swan. Swan's going to be covered, though, by Harry Dodds in front, and you start to think that Tim Mulford's just going to have to sit and watch for another lap as they all go by on this straight. This is about 14th to 17th out there on circuit, so this is what the mid-pack is bringing to the table at this point in time, and in towards that opening, incredibly fast right-hander there of Doohan Corner. You've got to make sure that you're carrying enough turn-in to get yourself back in line for that sudden loop of turn 2. And then when you put the power down out to the exit, that's when you're starting to find it. And everyone's going to get really close there, Jason, to that outside right curve.
You drop a tyre out there and you lose a lot of traction. It really affects your run through this part of the circuit, the second sector. Tim Mulford looking pretty racy at the moment, tucked underneath the rear wing of Swan. Dodd's doing a really good job also in that juice car at the moment, leading this little trio. Not blinking, he's not showing too much pressure that's being applied. He's handling it really, really well. Look a bit further back in the field and this looks like it could get dangerous real quick.
Well, here they go. That's Connor Nixon, and he's got with him Ty Delaney that he's just made the move on. Tom Pritchard sitting there. So too John Fillingham sitting there. This is a very mixed up battle between some of the pro category and the sport category that's there, and this is what makes it very difficult to work out where is the right place to go about and make this move. You're searching here, there and everywhere for a little bit of space when you get that run through and up Lukey Heights. They're all nice and behaved here at single file, up and over the hill and back down once again. It's in and around the other areas you've got to start being a little bit more concerned about what's going on, because that's where you can very easily look around and go, whoops, I'm in the wrong position. Michael Taliancic in position right now. They've just had Thomas Hinch join the back of the train, and here comes Michael Taliancic. He'll wait around no longer, senses a motive up the inside. Can he get it turned and stopped? Answer to that is going to be, we'll fight once more to Siberia here as they go through. So around the outside, trying to fight it against Michael Whiting. He's getting stuck in the wrong position. Suddenly, he'll find he's got no drive on the exit. And there's Dylan O'Shea, who's going to be there going, thank you very much. Shuts the door on him through the hay shed. What a pass.
Yeah, it was set up from way back at Miller Corner there. And like you said, Taliancic just finding himself on the wrong side of the track at Siberia out on the outside. O'Shea didn't need a second invitation.
And there is the invitation, because that is a mistake from Michael Whiting. And suddenly he gives the door to Dylan O'Shea, who's really going to start losing it here. They're all going to start dropping a bunch of time. They started this lap 3.3 off the lead. I'm not surprised. They might be 5 seconds off the lead now, and they might almost be 3 wide on the straight. Which way do you want to go? If you're Michael Taliancic, he might try and force his way through the middle. 3 wide on the straight. Thinking better of it there is Thomas Hinds. He almost made that 4 wide on the front stretch here. They go back to Noah's Ark Sim Racing 2x2. O'Shea on the outside, sweeping around the outside, is going to move himself up into 4th place. We've got a race on.
Yeah, cracking effort. Everybody giving plenty of respect to each other there and putting on a hell of a show at the same time. But O'Shea, the victor out of lap 10 there it was. We're on lap 11 and it doesn't look like it is over yet. The battle's still on. There's anyone's getting a sniff of an opportunity, and what was a battle of 4 cars has now quickly turned into, I think, 7. So just a little bit of hustle bustle, and it's just given an invitation to the cars behind. Teo Sorono now sitting in 9th, probably 2 or 3 tenths off the back of this group, well and truly in draft. So he's getting a look in for the action as well.
All the way back to Jamie Dyke in 10th place. This entire group now starts to check up on itself, and it's almost like watching a Ouroboros eat its own tail. As the way this group goes, there's not much you can say about it, except that they're going to keep doing more and more damage and drive themselves away from the podium, which makes it more and more likely that Dyson, Warboys and Kuznetsov are going to be racing it out then for those top 3 spots as they go about. Great drive off the exit, though, by Dylan O'Shea, and he'll look behind him. He'll see the entire train wants to get through, but because O'Shea's now at the front and he's really trying to work, he's trying to build that gap, you're going to start noticing here there'll be less and less moves because nobody can get close enough necessarily to make that. Desperately trying to get onto this group, though, wishing they'd fight just a little bit more. It's car number 4, and that's important for the championship here, Jason, because Varndell in 11th is losing a boatload of points at this moment.
Yeah, O'Shea lost 6 tenths on that last lap to the leading trio, so it just goes to show how detrimental it is when you're in a little battle pack.
Into the door of 777, makes the pass, and taking a freebie then might be Thomas Freeman trying to go around the outside. I tell you what, Taliancic, he's going to give everything with the one arm that he's got, and I tell you what, he's not going to be able to call it a draw, but what he will say is go on, have another go. He'll lose another place, he'll drop down, and this is where you have to be alert in a train battle, because you can be at the top very, very quickly. You can find yourself at the back if you're not looking around the right position. Sometimes you can lose a lot of places very quickly in groups like these. Oh, hello.
So jump on full.
Yeah, so that is David Coleman then, Jason.
Yeah, he's making his way through Siberia, getting right out wide, completely out of control, and it looks like he did that all by himself, a little bit of pressure applied. I don't think there was any contact from the car behind. That is Tim Mulford, who just saw the floodgates open in front, and he just drove through like a invitation was open for him.
Yeah, he dropped that all on his own. There are those drivers then in what is 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. And you've got Taliancic there. He's looking behind. It's got Jamie Dyke there. Teo Sorono, his teammate, is going to have to either do some rear guard action here or is going to have to try and go on his own. Now, drive penalty's just come through for Jack Mickelson, so he'll get a penalty as it goes through. And there is the Infinity Racing car there, number 26. So he's going to get himself then going through, and that is for the rejoin on lap 6 that we saw. So the race stewarding team definitely had a lot to deal with on the opening lap. They had about 4 different incidents to look at, and that's why the penalties are taking a little while to come in, Jason.
Yeah, so a drive-through here isn't detrimental to your race. It's not a really long pit lane, but of course nobody wants to see a black flag waved in their direction. So Jack's going to have to bite down on the bit, take that one on the chin, and find himself back out and make his way back through the field. There is still quite a way to go. We have 20 odd laps before the checkered flag drops, so there's time for him to recover, but certainly not what he would have been expecting tonight.
No, certainly not, but we are knocking on the door on the pit stop window, which should be opening in a couple of laps' time. So if everybody is going to be jumping through hoops and trying to get as much as they can out of it, they know they've got to be there. There's your top three. Andrew Dyson in the lead, Blake Warboy second, Rick Kuznetsov in third. Now, the interesting driver to watch in all of this is Rick Kuznetsov, the 888, in third position. He's running the most famous number in Australian racing. But on top of that, Jason, he's been sat there just watching these top two and saving that fuel. Does he have a little something at the stop compared to the other two drivers here today?
Yeah, by any means, he certainly looks like he's pretty comfortable sitting where he is at the moment. He hasn't been pushing it too hard at all, saving those tyres, like I said, conserving fuel. So he might get his all the hard work done in the pits and undercut these guys, whether it be an undercut by pitting a lap early or just saving that fuel.
Martin Hallinan having a big, scary moment coming through the final corner. 1, 2, 3, and to the inside wall. That would have given some of the virtual pit crews a huge scare. That's a heavy hit there on the inside for him. And it just goes to show you every corner hurts. You can see him there trying to test out the damage of his Mustang. And it's clear he's down in a straight line and he's limping that one home.
Yeah, you can see the steering wheel in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen while he's driving in a straight line. It is slightly off to your left-hand side, so it looks like the car's trying to crab its way back round to the pits. So he will be using this opportunity to dive into the pits and get that damage fixed, but in the meantime he is losing positions hand over fist.
It's got the black and orange mechanical flag, which means it's terminal damage, and there are no fast repairs in this series. So that will be Martin Hallinan's race over once he reaches the pits, and he will know that as they go through. It is starting to gear up, though. It's now up into fifth position is Thomas Hinds. He's made the move on Michael Whiting, and my goodness, is he trying to move and gain these places. He's looked the most aggressive out of anybody in this pack, and once again he'll try and search to the inside in the Henry James Racing entry, the number 62. Off goes Dylan O'Shea. He'll dive off, and actually diving a bit too deep there was Thomas Hinds. He almost followed him and has to cover on the inside. So now all of a sudden Michael Whiting wants to try and get back through, try and gain that place. Thomas Freeman sat there as well, but what a run it's been so far in this opening stint for Thomas Hinds. He is driving fantastically.
Yeah, O'Shea, they're losing 5 or so seconds, so from going from leading this group to well and truly off the back of the tail. So Hinds now out in front. He is setting the pace of this little battle pack. Whiting wants to have a piece of the action. He has a look down into MG, not the most successful spot to get a pass done. So he just might pull back into line and try and use it to draft down Gardner straight to get the move accomplished.
He might get the move accomplished here, and we do have our first taker, and it's Thomas Freeman, who has just dived into the pits. So number one is going to be the first one to bite the bullet, and it might not be the end of the world to pit first. Of course, we know how prevalent a safety car can be in this series, and it is, of course, a DSL safety car, not the iRacing official safety car that will come out. So that's what they've got to keep in mind. So pitting first sometimes does give you an advantage. It gets it out of the way. But now, as they run through, you've got the likes then of Tim Mulford. He's got to deal with Blake Delaney, Blake's son Ty, down near further down in the field. But Blake goes straight up the inside at turn one. Says, thank you very much. I'll have that one.
So a couple of cars making their way out of the pit exit, and now Thomas Freeman on our screen. We are expecting 18 or 19 laps out of a tank of fuel, so the end of lap 16, or lap 16 as he goes on now, really is the first opportunity where we see these drivers dive into the pits. So might have found himself in that traffic being held up a little bit, trying to find some clean air to make some hay while the sun shines.
Andrew Dyson has been stuck out the front of this field since the pit stop, or since the move that he made about lap 4, lap 5. Blake Warboy's understanding what he needs. And Dyson now, knowing he's close to that pit stop window, I think is about to find some really big lap time and get through. In comes Thomas Hinds. He'll look to try and make that stop. They're number 52. Now, it's a single track pit lane as the 823 is off the road again. Second time we've seen Whitaker off the road. But with Thomas Hinds in, this is a single track pit lane, which means that you have to be in position to make that stop. And it's a really fast braking zone. So here's what happens once again. Gets himself, grass under braking. Can't get it slowed down. You can see the rear brake discs there, Jason. Absolutely glowing to try and get that stop.
Yeah, he did everything in his power. The car got a little bit squirrely under brakes, and of course the end result was off onto the grass. More importantly, he's kept the car clean and he managed to rejoin it without incident, so it's only cost himself some track time and some position. Further up the field, this is our car number 1 on screen. He's got his pit stop done.
This is big for Thomas Freeman because he wanted to get that launch and get by Thomas Hinds with the undercut. Jake Jackson's there, and this is going to be, oh my goodness me. They're going to go through. Oh, Hinds has been hit. Round they go, and somehow holding it in a straight line. Thomas Hinds, Jake Jackson's going to go right around. Can he get it stopped? Thomas Hinds will call race control on it, but somehow, some way, Thomas Hinds still has a race car. That could have gone any which way wrong. And I tell you what, heads-up drive from Thomas Freeman. I thought he was going to absolutely lunge to the inside, saw the door close, and then saw the contact.
Yeah, Freeman had the speed going into turn number 1 there. Closing speed was pretty dramatic. Decided to bail out of it, and then that contact there with Jackson on the left-hand side of Hindsey's car. Hindsey is off dirt railing it into Southern Loop, and Jackson got his hands full trying to get the thing back under control. Not the first person tonight we've seen off at Southern Loop.
No, not the first one. You've got the damage on the right-hand side as well. That's not going to be good. Michael Whiting is now in the pit. Rono halfway. We are in this race. Dylan O'Shea jumps into the pits as well. So we've got a number of drivers in looking to make that stop and really try and get as much as they can out of it. The question, though, is going to come along where they come out in comparison to Thomas Freeman out there. We've got a couple drivers leaving pits already at this point, and there is Freeman rounding the final corner. Michael Whiting's just leaving the pits now, so it shows you how much of an advantage he's got, but he's got to get up to speed. He's going about 170 Ks, and Thomas Freeman will blow by at about 100 Ks faster, and he'll get out just in front of Thomas Hinds. That hit has cost him 2 places, as it does for Hindsey, and there's still drivers yet to come in and make their stops.
Yeah, Thomas has got his tyre temperatures up, so I'm expecting to have a bit of a look and a sniff down the inside of what was once on the hairpin. While the Fishy's Motorsport car gets his tyres up to temperature, he might not be close enough now to actually have a sniff, but he's certainly finding the pressure.
1, 2, and 3. All of the leaders have dived into the pits then, and they will be right up against that commitment cone. 71 kilometers an hour down through the pit and trying to get through. Now, this is going to be an important stop for all 3 of them, and it's going to be about who decides to take that fuel. Michael Taliantis is trying to play the long game. He's trying to hang it out for a safety car here, and that's his only way of going through. That's a little bit off the road they're going through. Seb Varndell staying out then, getting it all shades of sideways.
Yeah, with the 3 leaders in, this is our opportunity to see whether the Rick and the 888 car actually gets a benefit from sitting behind the 2 leaders for the first half of the race. But we jump on board a replay now. That is as far right off the track as you want to go before you start worrying about the tyres. So,
no, this is interesting. Dyson's had the quickest stop of anyone. He might be a little bit short on fuel by that margin. So he's going to go through, and it will be Rick Kuznetsov then in second. A slower stop for Blake Warboys. He's out in third, and it is dicey around Thomas Freeman. Aidan Ford, who's yet to make his pit stop, is right in the middle of this group. It'll have to be to the outside to go for Michael Whiting, but he's out of position now, and suddenly Thomas Hinds senses an opportunity. He's going to sneak up the inside. He's going to get 2 here on the exit. He absolutely will.
Yeah,
Wonderfully done.
Read that like a book. He's put himself in a pretty good position, but he's going to have plenty of competition on the outside, but luckily the Honda hairpin Miller corner there turns right, and he is the inside line and gets the direct drive out of there he needs to make his way down to Siberia.
Yep, so he makes that run, and he does a very good job of it. Now, out again, this will be a 20th lap on the tank for one Mr. Michael Talianchich. Seb Varndell will jump down, though, into the pit, so he will make his stop. He will depart from that battle at this point, and we've still got drivers who are out there. You got Blake Delaney, the 08, still out there with Tim Mulford. Luke Swan, the Iridium car, is going to dive down in and make that stop. And you got Andrew Dyson there, number 41. He's got a bit of a gap here over Rick Kuznetsov. He's going to have to hold that as much as possible here at this one. There is Thomas Freeman. In comes Aidan Ford finally. The Platinum car makes its pit stop. And you got Connor Nixon as well, the 19 car, also due down in and will come down then into the pits. So it's going to be an interesting race now through the second half. Seb Varda only just now leaving out then of his boxes. Jake Jackson on his adventurous day that he's had today, Jason, dives into the pits.
So Vandel and Dyke, the gap out there on track at the moment, 8 seconds. This is not really the battle for 11th and 12th, but that's where they sit on the track at the moment, making his way down through Southern Loop. Bit of a lonely drive out there at the moment. Probably has time to look out towards the right-hand side and go penguin spotting, which Phillip Island is also famous for. But Mulford and Delaney at the moment, 2/10. This is the battle for second and third on track at the moment. We have our leader 20-odd seconds down the road.
He's off the road. He's going to be in the wall. Taliac is in the wall. He's out. He's hit the inside pit wall. He's out. I wonder if that will be a safety car because he's in the pit lane and safety car. It's a safety car. It is. It's a safety car. So he just drops it off the road. This is an unforced error, and you can see he's just too quick trying to get in. He's trying to save as much time as he can, and bang! It's head-on contact, so it would have been a nasty, nasty hit. But just like that, right at the end of the natural pit window, we've got a safety car.
Yeah, Hollywood couldn't even write that scenario. That was totally unexpected. He was really running that tank dry. I was surprised they managed to get 20 litres or 20 laps out of the tank. But he did come to a sudden stop there at pit entry, and he is going nowhere in a hurry. So his day's done and dusted, and not that he was fighting for a podium position at this stage, but he was certainly fighting for a top 5 position. And that's just going to make things interesting. We've got 14 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see whether anyone's going to dive in for new tyres again.
No, I wouldn't expect so. And the track position, I think, right now is going to be more important. So, and the safety car's off. The safety car has gone off the road and has managed to gather it back up together again. So the safety car's had a moment here through turn 2. Now, it's always a difficult job when you're out there and you're trying to make sure everyone's through. But that safety car would have been sat with very, very cold tyres, the Mercedes-AMG GT4, for a very long time. And to see it go off the road in the way that it has would have been very, very awkward. And once again, it looks like the safety car at that point deciding, you know what, that's not the way it wants to go. And they also didn't quite pick up either at that stage the leaders that were there. So that then, not ideal for the 00 safety car, who right now is sat on the exit of turn number 3, or on the entry to turn 3, I believe, waiting for the leaders to pick up. Of course, Andrew Dyson, Rick Kuznetsov, Blake Warboys. It does shake the field up. So Thomas Freeman's 4th, got Thomas Hinds in 5th, Michael Whiting in 6th position, Teo Sorono 7th, Jamie Dyke 8th, and then it's Seb Varndell and Matt Stewart who will round out the top 10. And the next question that has to be asked is who can make some moves late in this race? With the safety car, they bunch all up, and all things considered right now, Jason, as we get one very, very limp, wounded, damaged machine then down into the pits. That is Michael Taliancic, who's been able to get that car back up and running again and going. That is a hefty repair bill that they'll have to deal with out there on track. But crucially, Andrew Gilliam, let's talk about him for a moment. We haven't talked about him since the drive-through penalty. This is the free kick he's been waiting for. He's right now P13, well, P11 right now, as a couple of drivers come in and taken a stop. So P11 P13, 13 laps to go. I think that P13, Andrew Gilliam's got a shot here. Top 10, maybe top 5.
Well, definitely at the top 5. It's going to make things very, very interesting because these guys up the front, we all know they have very similar speed. The one thing I think this is going to really play into the hands of, though, is Dyson. Even though he's leading, we did take note that he had the shortest pit stop out of that group as well. So an opportunity to save some fuel here under yellow just might play back into his hands.
Oh, it absolutely will. But the gap that he had there by that short fill hasn't worked necessarily, because now he's got the fuel, but he's not got the gap And the drivers behind definitely have the fuel, so they can absolutely burn as much as they can to try and close that gap back down. And it's going to be a really, really important phase of the race. Now, what is worth noting is that if there are drivers who are a lap down, they are going to get that wave around them by the safety car to go through. And the biggest one of them, who is right in the middle of the top 3 and 4th position, is Shane Nowens. So he's going to be the one to go through. Jack Anderson, Seth Brown, those two as well are going to be hoping for a wave around to get themselves back onto the leading lap. So that all has to happen between now and the end of this race. I expect it should take a couple of laps for everything to be all sorted out together. But I tell you what, Rick Kuznetsov has driven a really, really classy race so far. And if anyone's going to make a challenge here on number 41, Andrew Dyson, who, when it comes to races, he's got 2 race wins this season. He has seen that the DPR team have been unbeaten this season. Is Rick Kuznetsov the one who today is going to just quietly wait for the right time to strike after this safety car?
Yeah, well, we will know in 12 short laps whether or not he's got the ability to do it. We know he's got the ability, but whether he's got the luck on his side to pull it off as well. So the DSL GT4 Mercedes out there at the moment, leading this field through at a snail's pace while everybody catches up, gets himself back into formation. You can see the long train of cars that snake their way back down off Gardner Straight through Doohan Corner there. It's a pretty spectacular field with such a big lineup of cars here tonight. So Gilliam's still got his work cut out to do back in 13th, but if anyone can put the cat amongst the pigeons, I think he's the one who can do that.
Certainly can. So all drivers then will move over to the right-hand side of the circuit to allow drivers who are a lap down to gain their laps back. And flying through then is Shane Nowens, Jack Anderson, and Seth Brown, the number 51, will be the last driver available, you would feel, to get that wave around, and will take that wave around and move back onto the leading lap then of this race. So there is still going to be that to contend with, as Seth Brown will now fly past a multitude of cars. And there must be something positive about that after falling a lap down in a race like this, to have the ability to pass about 20 cars in the space of one corner.
Yeah, and of course, when they get to the back of the train, their tyres and brakes will probably be a lot better off, ready for the restart than these guys as well. But something we probably haven't considered as well is Varndell sitting in 9th position at the moment. He's second in the championship, and he was buried quite deep in the field earlier on. So he's done a pretty good job to make his way back inside the top 10. And of course, this safety car playing towards his benefit as well. So that's something else to consider. But you look through the championship standings we ran through earlier, and you've got the likes of Delaney, who's sitting in the top 3 at the moment. He's buried quite deep. Also, there was Talianchis. We've seen him out as well. So he was sitting 3rd as well. So really going to mix things up after, what is this, round 4, I think it is, of the series. And at the moment, Dyson's just stamped his authority and is leading this as well as the championship.
He is. He's championship leader. He's race leader. The safety car has pulled away, and his authority, he will go. Now, the question is whether he wants to go through turn 11 or turn 12, because putting the power down at any point here is going to give a real chance at this stage. And Andrew Dyson is going to sit and wait, and now he goes in the chute. He will go in the chute, and he catches Kuznetsov out a little bit there, gets a good 6-7 car lengths early. What a fantastic job by Andrew Dyson. Kuznetsov didn't see it coming, and that's going to mean everybody else now give chase. Back underway, 11 laps to decide a winner here at Phillip Island.
So we make our way down off Doohan Gardner Straight, Doohan Corner now. Looks like everybody single file. There's not too many people that are pushing the issue through there, which is just as well, because they've got to wait for these tyre temperatures to get back up to scratch. Everyone making their way through Southern Loop as well. So not too much drama off the restart. That's what we like to see. But out front, car 41, Dyson, he has got a leader at the moment, only half a car length, so Rick's managed to reel that back in from the moment the flag dropped and went green, so he is looking pretty racy, and might be time for him to take advantage.
So too, Varndell and Dyke, and here is Seb Varndell on the inside of Siberia corner. He's going to manage it, and he's going to move up into 8th place. These are vital, vital points They're starting to claw their way through. Varndell has got to stay with. At the front, though, the top 5 looking great, and it starts to get a little bit dicey now as Kuznetsov dives to the inside for the race lead. Has he got the move done? Odds to that is they're going to fight all the way through then. This long left-hander of 11 and 12. Andrew Dyson suddenly wakes up for what has been tame at the front. He's got a race. Kuznetsov, wrong side of the road at turn 12, has to cover Blake Warboys, who wants to try and get through as well. Suddenly, Andrew Dyson's got to pick Kuznetsov and Warboys against each other on the front stretch. They'll fan out. It'll be 3 wide here in towards turn number 1. Here comes Kuznetsov to the outside, but it's going to be Dyson just holding on. Just!
Yeah, Warboys there all of a sudden had the opportunity, had plenty of speed, but nowhere to go, so he had to sit back in as they made that run onto the straight. Of course, got the draft benefit of the 2 cars in front, but 3 wide into turn number 1 is never going to end well. So they file back into the same racing order they were literally a lap ago. This isn't over yet, the 888 car.
Oh, just getting it stopped. That is Dyson. Thomas Hinz moves up into 4th behind. He makes the pass on Thomas Freeman. And this is where you don't want to be if you're Andrew Dyson. Having to defend at every corner, at every chance. It brings the group back together. There's a car that's just gone off, though, at Siberia. It's Riley Simmons, who's had a big off then. That's a real shame for him, because he was having such a great race, and he's going to drop well back down the order, and it might actually change the sport category. Dylan O'Shea's decided to go and follow as well, so he's also had himself a big off then, in trouble, but they push each other then down through MG corner. They'll move back through these next series of left-handers to Jamie Dyke is the train, and the car behind Jamie Dyke in the train, who is just off it, is 201 Andrew Gilliam.
Making their way round to complete. We have 10 to go this time by. Still single file, 1, 2, 3. We've got Dyson, Kuznetsov and Warboys leading the way, separated by only 0.3 of a second. That is a little bit of a gap back to Hinz and Freeman, but they're certainly not out of it. They are well and truly in the tow. Hard braking turn left that goes on and on and on as they'll make their way round through Southern Loop. The 888 car looking like he is throwing everything at Dyson out the front at the moment, but just can't get the position gained at this stage.
Well, he can't chew his tyres up too much. On the brakes they go. Can Dyson get it slowed up then at Miller Corner? Yes, he can. So once more, this will be one of those passing laps. They won't have too much to really worry about at this point, but this is a massive train at the front, just in the back of shot there. That was Blake Delaney and Tim Mulford still having their race. So they've still got it going on then for about 13th, 14th position, but they go through the hay shed here. Such a fast transferring section of track then, and they've got to really work. There is Varndell in 8th position. There is that battle that we are keeping an eye out on then. Mulford and Delaney up over the hill at Lukey Heights, trying to get as much drive as possible. Blake really wants that 13th place, and every position matters at this point in time. Every position as they go through, and there's your leader right now in category, Luke Crum, number 30, currently your holder, leading Super Sport.
He's done a really good job tonight, and certainly got the attention of some of the pro drivers out there as well, but crossing the line for another lap, 8 to go this time. Dyson still in the lead, the front, same 3 drivers out in front. They are just sitting there in file form at the moment. 8-2-3 off the track.
Whitaker again having a big off, and that's massive there to be on the infield like that. So we'll take a look then. This is how easily it can go through, as we'll take a look here on the Virtual Racing School replay then on a pass. This is Tim Mulford, who will lose out the overtake, going through, trying to get it stopped. Meanwhile, as we watch this replay, it's going to be side by side for the lead. So come back to the race lead when we do, because it's suddenly getting on. As Kuznetsov on the outside of Siberia, not the easiest place to make the move, but a small mistake there from Dyson, just overshooting his braking marker by about 5 meters was enough to send him 5 meters too far into the corner. Now all of a sudden, Kuznetsov's got to find the right move, but he's got to find the right move in such a way where it doesn't allow Blake Warboys to attack if he can't get it done.
Yeah, easier said than done. You've seen him take a couple of stabs at this lead so far, and Dyson is throwing everything he's got back at him. So this is potentially burning up the tyres of the 2 in front. So this might play into the hands of Warboys towards the end of the race, because these tyres don't tend to last an overly great distance. So they do have a little bit of a gap at the moment. Top 5 look like they've pulled away from the following group somewhat, but making their way down into the fast-flowing right-hand turn number 1.
He thought about it, did Kuznetsov, trying to get that pass. Now here comes Andrew Gilliam, getting past both Teo Sorono and Seb Varndell. So he's up to 7th now, and he's going to be a rampaging driver trying to get himself as close as possible to those drivers. He's got 2.2 effectively to chase, so he's got work, but these drivers are all going to be bottling each other up at this stage. Dyson, heavy defense once again, moving through turn 4, Miller corner, and you got then all with a shot of victory. Dyson, Kuznetsov, Warboys, Hinz, Freeman, Whiting, and Andrew Gilliam. Andrew Dyson, this is the toughest challenge he has had when he's been leading a race this season.
Yeah, he's certainly got the attention of the drivers behind. They are right on his rear bumper bar waiting for an opportunity. We haven't seen Dyson really put a foot wrong all season, so tonight I'm not expecting him to do that again. He won't fall to the pressure, but that pressure is being applied in all sorts of formats in every aspect behind.
This is the sports lead that we've got on screen right now. This is one Mr. Luke Crum, with John Fillingham just behind, trying to figure out if he can find a move through to take the category win. They've got themselves a little bit of a gap to Riley Simmons, who'll be trying to work his way back through. He's 3rd at the moment in the category, but right now, 1 second, 0.2 of a second. It's going to be a lot of work here for John Fillingham to find that pass. It's going to be a difficult day at the office, but he's going to try everything he can to get there.
Yeah, Phillip's sitting 6th in the sports championship at the moment, so he is hanging on for any points, and there's not a lot of a gap to the car in front as well. So, in fact, Luke Crum is the car in front, five points ahead. So, more than just this race, the battle is at the moment between these two drivers. They're actually on for the championship.
Tell you what, good run there from Dyke off the exit. He's managed to pick up the place as Dodds and Delaney race for it. So Jamie Dyke able to jump up another one. There's the juiced car just behind Harry Dodds, who's able to, just for the moment, hold Blake Delaney, who's making great late strides here in this race to try and make some places. It's all work at this point in time, but once again, every time I keep an eye out on the front of the field, it's a heavy defence left, a heavy defence right. They go through. You can't keep your eyes off the lead, and it's bottlenecking ever so slightly here. Kuznetsov got a little bit too close heading towards turn 11. That's given the gap to Andrew Dyson. Suddenly Blake Warboys might start to think, well, I've got to make a move. But if he's going to make a move, he's got to make it clean. Otherwise, Dyson's gone.
Yes, we jump on board. Gilliam here at the moment, P7. A bit of a gap ahead to the car in front. Michael Whiting, might be 0.5 of a second. So within draft range, he has clawed that back because it was out to 1.2 seconds there only a lap and a half ago. So really good speed being shown. But one thing to have speed, we can see here tonight, it's not easy to get the pass done. So Andrew Gilliam on a charge, but just how far up can he climb with 5 laps to go?
If anyone can, he can. He is that good. He is that talented as they hit the brakes into Miller Corner once again. With these 5 laps to go, how far will 201 climb? It's his number, it's his car, it's his Mustang, and he is trying to gallop as quickly as he possibly can in the final stages of this race. If anything, he's here just trying to get himself a feel for this series, and he'll be trying to take as many points away from drivers in and around for 777, who is out of this race, and so it'll be damage limitation by that measure of metric, and he has no right to be in this position. Number 7 started from the pit with a drive-through penalty, and he's still racing for the victory here today.
Yeah, he's tucked underneath that rear wing, so he's setting himself up for a prime opportunity to make the move done going down to the end of Gardner Straight. He's tucked in underneath, a bit of a late apex to get that maximum run on. Looks like he keeps it within the boundaries of the circuit, doesn't drop a wheel off. Might not be close enough at this stage to get the move done, but he's certainly he does have a look, never say never.
Oh, to the inside, Michael Whiting leaves him all the space in the world. Then at turn number 1, that is what Andrew Gilliam is all about, throwing the car in, making it happen. We look back to the Super Sport battle overall, because all of a sudden it is now not John Fillingham to keep an eye out on. It's Riley Simmons, who had been so quick, who dropped it off the road after the restart and is trying to get that position back. He's really trying to have to work with Luke Crum. There's a car off. It's Harry Dodds in trouble then at turn 2, and just off the exit of 1, he just ran it off the road following Blake Delaney, and in fact went straight on and spun it, so that's why he was off the road in trouble.
Yeah, I think Simmons was the highest qualifier of the sports series, mixing it in amongst the pro drivers. So after a little excursion earlier in the race, he has fought back, and he is back in the hunt for this sports championship title, or at least the points towards the championship title here tonight at Phillip Island. There is 3.5 laps to go, so you haven't really got time to sit around and wait for an opportunity now. You've got to make something happen.
Oh, he's trying through the hay shed. He absolutely is. He's trying to get everything he possibly can. No further safety cars then in this race. We are green to the end, ladies and gentlemen, and it is going to be all on it right now. On the brakes goes Simmons, searching for the inside, and there's a little bit of contact that's there, and suddenly just scampering enough, and on the scene is Dylan O'Shea. Can O'Shea play a part in this maybe?
Great car control there after a little bit of contact at the bottom of MG, but no love lost, and everybody is still on their way. Crum there had his hands full, managed to get the thing back under control, but he is under pressure now. Might have left that defensive run into turn 1 too late, as we look like the move gets done quite successfully, and the juice stock car goes with him.
Absolutely, follows through. 1, 2, 3. O'Shea's going to go through as well, just like that. Maybe 4 as well as the 640. Now we'll try and work a way through. That's going to be David Coleman trying to make it happen. Andrew Gillian, though, is slicing and dicing at this point. The move done now on Thomas Freeman, but it's cost him time. That's crucial. So he gets it done up the inside at Siberia, but it's cost him time to make that move. And again, he's going to have to make the time up again to get to Hiddens and Warboys and Kuznetsov and Dyson, who is at the front of the field. It'll be 2 laps to go for Andrew Dyson. He's putting the car in all the right places so far.
So Warboys on the back of the 888 Commodore at the moment, second and third on your screen. Dyson is 2.5 tenths ahead of this group, leading. I don't think he has not led a lap so far of this race, other than when he pitted. So
Kuznetsov's got to run. Oh, he's just going to get in the mirrors. This is rule 1 of sim racing right here, Jason. Sorry to cut you off like that, but this is what it's all about. Trying to find the smallest margin possible to find the mistake.
Yeah, plenty of mind games being shown at the moment, but of course this isn't Dyson's first rodeo. He has plenty of experience leading a quality field. So Rick throwing everything at him, moving left, moving right in his mirrors. So Dyson looking in front, as is Rick Kuznetsov, because of course he has Warboys in the background as well, looking for an opportunity.
Tried to search for the inside, it wasn't quite there, and he thinks about Siberia. It's not going to be any room to make the pass, but he's pushing him through the corner. Kuznetsov is bottled up. He's got so much abundant energy. He wants to make that pass, but Andrew Dyson is just being the stickiest wicket possible. You can't find a way through him. Might search up Lukey. Oh, you're not that desperate yet. You got 1 lap yet, Rick, if you want to make that pass.
Yeah, time is running out. He's looking pretty hungry, and of course all this little battling has allowed Gilliam to get onto the back of this group of 5 now. So any contact in the top 2 or 3 cars, and Gilliam could find himself at the front of this.
He definitely could. So too could Thomas Hiddens. So too could Blake Warboys. And they'll only have 1 more lap here at Phillip Island. Strap on your seatbelts, because this is about to get crazy. Barney waves the white flag. Let's get going then as we get this sorted. Rick Kuznetsov, can he find the pass here on Andrew Dyson? Not into turn 1. Didn't have enough, but he's trying to really run up behind to get through. Forces Dyson defensive then at turn 2. He never left the curb on the inside. And can he get underneath? He gives him a shot to the back once again, but I think Dyson's got just enough of a run here, heading towards Miller Corner. Turn number 4, out on track. Can Andrew Dyson hold on to this position? This is the big place to get it done, because Kuznetsov's coming from a mile back. He's in the back of him, and off goes Dyson. He spins around. Blake Warboys has the race lead. Kuznetsov will allow him to have that place. We'll redress that one going forward. Suddenly there were 3. It is now Warboys from Hiddens, from Gilliam, who's got no right to be there on this race for the podium. Blake Warboys now has to navigate Lukey Heights, and if he can survive that at MG Corner, he's there. But this is the last chance saloon. If you're going to send it for the race win, now's the time to go for it. On the brakes they go. Gilliam even later than Thomas Hinds, but they're not going to get there. Blake Warboys, who sat, who watched, who was patient, who had everything just fall into his lap on the final lap of the race, proves you cannot wait until the last moment, because he is going to take a victory. And oh boy, what a win at Phillip Island.
Yeah, absolutely ecstatic there. He will be over the moon, taking maximum points here tonight from Thomas Hinds, Andrew Gilliam, Thomas Freeman fourth across the line. We can't forget him because he has been part of that action from the moment the lights went green tonight. Looking further back in the field though, this is Riley Simmons, currently sitting 22nd, so he's gone backwards from where he started, but at the moment he looks like he's going to take out the sports series maximum points here this evening as he crosses the line. So he will be leading the Super Sports for the Phillip Island here this evening. So mixed bag of results in both the pro and the sports category. So we will really have to focus on the championship at the end of tonight's race and to see where all the cards fall.
Through all of that, Seb Varndell finished ahead of Andrew Dyson and will close the gap for the championship lead. Blake Warboys, WK and P Sims Sports had just a very, very simple job. Wait to see what Kuznetsov would do. And when the top two came together, he was able to run away and hold off an incredible group of drivers behind who have so much storied history when it comes to this machinery. Blake Warboys, hats off. What a victory that is for him. Let's get then official classified results then sorted forward here from Phillip Island. Of course, what an incredible display that we've just seen out there moving forward. But it is number 63. It is Blake Warboys who picks up the victory, 54 minutes and 16 seconds. And he will win by 4/10 when all is said and told, from Thomas Hinds in second, who started 10th and had the most aggressive race. Andrew Gilliam needed some safety car luck. He got it because he was able to survive from starting in the pits, from getting the drive-through penalty, and still able to pick up a podium despite all of that. Thomas Freeman would end up fourth, with Michael Whiting then fifth position overall. Sebastian Varndell will jump ahead of Andrew Dyson in that race, 6th and 7th. Dyson leading the majority of the laps here today, but it doesn't mean anything unless you lead the last one. Jamie Dyke would finish 8th ahead of Teo Sorono in 9th. It would be a drag race to the 9. Rick Kuznetsov could only manage 10th after he redressed the position to Andrew Dyson on the final lap of the race. Over the page, then it'll be Matt Stewart and Blake Delaney 11th and 12th. Tim Mulford would be 13th. Great drive by Wade Sheedy, by the way. He started 38th. He didn't set a great time in qualifying, but he was still able to recover the bad qualifying, and his race result was 14th place, all said and done. Connor Nixon would be 15th, with Jai Schultz 16th. And what a train he leads. Luke Swan, Andy Barber, Aidan Ford, and Jake Jackson were all there. Jake Jackson was a little bit in the wars today, but still managed 20th position come the end of the race. Shame for Dylan O'Shea. He was someone who could have been right up there in the thick of things. He ends up 21st, and your category winner for Super Sport would be Riley Simmons. He had all of the pace here today to really show what he was capable of, but he was a little bit down the order after an off. He had to make the move late on Luke Crum, who was 23rd position. Brandon Grosh would end up 24th, with John Fillingham 25th, just falling outside the podium places. Chris Tomlin, championship leader, damage limitations today, 26th, with Harry Dodds and Jack Mickelson 27th and 28th. Will Jesberg would be 29th, and Ty Delaney would round out the top 30. Last two finished on the lead lap would be David Coleman and Jack Anderson, with Seth Brown a lap down, and then drivers multiple laps down being Tom Pritchard, Matt Whitaker, Shane Nowens out, safety car through Michael Taliancic, finding troubles on pit entry, and then Martin Hallinan rounding out the field then in 38th position and a non-finisher here today. We're going to get a chance then to jump in, talk to a couple of drivers, none other than Blake Warboys, I think, is the first place to go to a race victory for him today. Blake, let's just talk about the final lap because we have to in these stages. Your third position, you're watching those two drivers. Rick looks like he's bottled up and bottled up and bottled up. At some point, the cork's got to pop and you find yourself with the victory.
Yeah, pretty crazy last few laps there. I could see Rick was probably getting a little bit impatient in behind Dyson there. I could see little love taps here and there and everywhere, but that's touring car racing. And yeah, I was just sort of sitting there, didn't quite have the straight line speed off the corner or the acceleration off the corner to keep with them to have a real crack. So best bet was to stick with them and hope that something happened, and something did happen, and I was able to avoid it and come away with the win.
Well, you came away with the win. It's an important time in the season for you to come away with that victory. But let's talk the early stages of the race, because you decided you had the lead, you took the race lead away, and then Andrew Dyson brought that back to then decide to sit in and watch and try and save a little bit of fuel. How crucial was that opening stage? Because the top three looked like they were away and gone were it not for that safety car.
Yeah, the early stages of the race were very crucial. As made a slight mistake and Dyson got through, but I decided to just see if I could save a little bit of fuel in behind him and see if that would help after the pit stops. But I, in my silly mistakes, overfueled the car by about 3 laps, so that cost me quite a bit in the pit stop run, so something for me to work on there. But yeah, I think if the safety car didn't come out, it would have been a 3-way battle, but the guys behind had great pace as well, so can't take anything away from them either.
No, you absolutely can't. And in terms of where we head, it's Chicago streets then for the first of the 200-kilometer races. So a little bit different, a little bit more leeway on strategy to work with. For you, Blake, now, is this where you G up your season? You say, right, I am back in this picture, and this is the result that gets me now starting to think about, okay, top 3, top 2, maybe if the cards fall right, I can maybe have a challenge for the title.
Well, yeah, for me, it's all about continuing to improve on my setup building. I'm still quite new to all that. So, yeah, if I can mix it with those top guys every round for the rest of the season and be there for the top 3, that would be a great achievement for me.
Well, the floor is yours here, Blake. Shout out sponsors who gets it done for you and WKMP, the victory here today at Phillip Island.
Firstly, a massive shout out to the team. We're all working very hard in the background to improve our driving and our setups. Lots of practice being done. Wodonga Karts and Parts for the continued support. LGK Karts Australia. Super Cheap Auto for coming on board last season and being a massive help as well financially. And everyone that tuned in wished me luck in this broadcast, and the broadcast team for putting on another great broadcast.
Blake Warboys there, a victory at last in this season for him. The WKMP Sim Sports team finds itself then with the W here today from Phillip Island. Jason Fewens, you've been wandering down the virtual paddock, and I believe you found one Mr. Thomas Hinds, who finished off in 2nd position today.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the driver of car number 52 here with me. He is 2nd step on the podium today after an extremely eventful race here at Phillip Island. Welcome to the commentary box, Tim. How did you see that all unfold?
Hey, yeah, that was something. Yeah, just qualified. I think I was 10th. I was so a little bit further back than I was sort of maybe thinking I would be, but obviously it just shows how quick everyone is these days and how tight the fields are. And then I just sort of tried to make some moves early on. Apologies to Tally. I gave him a little nudge on one of my moves. I was a little bit late on the brakes, so apologies to Tally for that nudge. That was just me being noobish. So, but yeah, got through a bit, and then obviously safety car came out, sitting nicely about 4th, 5th, and yeah, just kind of sat there. I wanted to clear Freeman because I felt like I was quicker than him. But then I thought if I could just latch on to the top 3 and just kind of sit there, we'll see what happens. And I just had a feeling, the way that it was going, I had a feeling something was going to kick off in the last few laps. And lo and behold, last lap, it all kicked off and we were able to sneak through and grab a 2nd. So, yeah, very, very happy with that.
Yeah, good championship points haul there tonight. Earlier on in the race, though, you definitely did have your hands full climbing your way through from 10th position. You were fighting there with Tally and, of course, Freeman, as well as a heap of other cars there that were in that little battle. You had your mirrors full, and while you're trying to keep an eye on things in front, but definitely put on a heck of a show here this evening, and walking away with a second place tonight is a good reward for a job well done.
Yeah, it's good to. It's been good. I've obviously only jumped in this series last weekend, and it's been great racing both weekends. So it's been really good fun, and it's good to have a sort of something a little bit regular again. The V8s, so there wasn't very much outside Scops last year there towards the end. It was just really Scops was the only V8 thing I was doing. So it's good to keep the skills a bit up to date. That's really the main purpose of doing this, is just try to keep myself vaguely practiced in the supercar. So good to see that I still can mix up there with sort of the big guns. So hopefully can keep that up.
So you definitely, second weekend, definitely got the attention of quite a few drivers within the field, I would suggest, and cemented that tonight with a really strong second place. You did have your hands full, though, because we did have another hard charger through the field there on the last lap, making life not exactly easy for yourself, but you managed to hold off and cross the line there to beat Andrew in a very strong third place. But congratulations, mate. I'll throw the microphone over to you. You can thank your sponsors and your team, and well done on a thrilling race tonight.
Thanks, man. Just big thanks to Jinx Shifters. Obviously, I'm gonna remember that off by heart now. I'm getting way better at this. So big thanks to Jinx Shifters, our main sponsor, and all the other sponsors on the car. Big thanks to them for making the cars look spectacular, and obviously to Henry for always pumping out the spectacular liveries. Big appreciated. And big thanks obviously as well to the whole team, and Brett for all the work he does with the setups and everything behind the scenes. He's always working so hard. So really big thanks to him on that, and the rest of the boys. Big thanks to obviously the league, DSL V8 League. As we saw, they put on a great show. It's great racing. So big thanks to them for running the league and running a tight ship. Big thanks to you guys for putting on a great show.
We do the easy job, mate. You make us look good. So well done tonight. The DSL Welding Services Championship is wide open, and of course taking a heap of points off, which is very critical at this stage of the series. We're a third of the way through, so obviously you can build on from here and keep the series going and potentially be a contender towards the end of the 12 weeks.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Long way ahead, but we'll see what happens. So thanks very much.
All right, it's Thomas Hinds there tonight, our second place getter here in the DSL Welding Services V8 Supercar Series. And Sperry, over to yourself now. Andrew Gilliam was our third place getter tonight, and I believe you've got him with you right now.
I certainly do. Andrew, pit lane start, drive through penalty, third. How?
I definitely got a little bit lucky with the safety car. It definitely got me back in contention, but I wasn't expecting that one, to be honest. I was kind of like stoked to get the P5, and then the C's parted for us at Honda. I was like, oh, this has turned into a really good race.
Well, it certainly did for you. Your first start of the season, and coming into a series which has seemingly had more and more people jump in week on week on week. You look at the sort of caliber of drivers who are up there at the front, and everyone's pushing and everyone's trying to get as much as they can out of it. For someone like you who has come through the development and has been in that position where you've been looking at these sort of series to try and develop and improve the skills, and it gives that confidence to go over to other series and, really showcase what's important. How crucial are these sorts of drives for drivers like this in this series?
Yeah, any experience is, really, really valuable, definitely. All your gains through these development series are all very incremental. It doesn't happen overnight, so just, you got to keep driving, and it'll slowly come to you. You get little light bulb moments every day that you race on the sim.
So you get those light bulb moments from time to time. It's really cool when you get the understanding of, I can take this a little bit quicker. But in terms of you and in terms of this series, of course, a fantastic drive for you. The question is, will we see you back for the 200 next week when it comes to the Chicago streets?
Yeah, it's a tantalizing race. Chicago, 200 Ks. Jeez. I think we'll have the winner being the only person not to clip a wall. That'd be a tough race. Nah, I reckon, yeah, I'll give it a go. Sounds like it'll be a really fun race.
A really fun race it will certainly be. You'll give it a go. You gave it an absolutely wicked drive out there today. There's no other way to describe it. Before we let you go, though, Andrew, shout out sponsors who gets it done.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our team. We've got a few new guys on board recently, and we just got 3 cars in the top 10 in this race. So strong outing for Pursuit. So yeah, thanks to the guys and V&M Simulation and Sideways Photography for your support.
No worries at all. Andrew Gillian then finishing 3rd position overall in what was a helter-skelter of a ride, joining us here today at the Phillip Island circuit. But we're going to head to the city streets of Chicago. The proof of concept circuit from NASCAR is the next choice out there. Round 6 overall. It's going to be an incredible drive for 200 as they go forward. A wonderful, wonderful bit of work that is about to come through. Make sure you check that out. Friday, the 20th of January, we'll be back same time, same place to get all of your sim racing action into play. But that will just about do it for us here tonight, here from this Phillip Island circuit. Want to give a massive, massive thank you to the Inside Lane Productions, to SVR Images, and as well to the Virtual Racing School who have been on the replays for us here today. This is the DSL Welding Services V8 SuperCup. It is season 3. Round 5 may have just been the best round yet. Anything that can happen in sim racing usually does happen in sim racing. Blake Warboys has it just open out in front of him. Gift wrapped a victory here today at Phillip Island. Andrew Dyson will be kicking himself. Sebastian Varndell will be breathing a sigh of relief. Hopefully needing another arm will be Michael Taliancic after finding himself in trouble today. A championship that is still far from decided, and we'll find out how it goes along next time as we reach the halfway stage of the season.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.